So, what is it that separates people who are really successful versus those who are continually looking to achieve the career they want? And it typically is not skill, it's not background experience. A lot of the time, it is persuasive interviewing. So, today we're going to talk about how to be more persuasive as a smart person, as a job seeker who is competitive to really take you to the next level. By the end of this video series, we're going to achieve six things. We're going to discuss what makes an interviewee highly persuasive. We're going to predict employer priorities and go over their thinking patterns. We're going to connect less relevant work experience. We're also going to discuss the nuanced mistakes that cost job offers. And then also, too, how to control your own narrative. If you think you talk too much, we'll tackle that. If you're not sure if you talk enough, we'll tackle that as well. So, the foundation of highly persuasive interviewing. So, I'll give a relevant example as to what basically as to persuasion in general. And the best example I can give, I mean, there are many, but is if you think about a time that you've purchased a piece of jewelry and you're looking at a watch and maybe it's a few $1,000s more than you want to spend. However, you're thinking to yourself, well, will this look good in jeans? Will this look good in a suit or a dress? And will it look good in gym clothing? And essentially, you want to know how much use you'll get out of it. So before even you could ask, the salesperson comes up to you and says, well, you know what? This watch, my clients come to me and they say they wear it every day of the week to the gym, to work, to formal wear, to just out with friends at a bar or dinner. Chances are you would say, okay, well, you know what? This meets my needs. The person was sort of ahead of the narrative, so I have no question as to their motivations. So, okay, I'll move forward. Even though it's a few $1,000s more, as opposed to scenario two, where the salesperson comes up to you and says, well, you know what? This watch will allow you to dive 100 meters down. It will also tell you the time in Sydney, in Paris, in San Francisco, and New York without even having to flip a switch in the interface. Well, first of all, if you don't scuba dive, and I mean, if you scuba dive 100 meters, I don't recommend just using a basic watch to navigate. However, there's no need to have Paris, Tokyo, and all the times across the world right on your watch interface. It's what we have phones for. So it really doesn't meet your needs. So you probably would just say, okay, thank you, and just be on your way. Now, the same is true for persuasion interviewing. So persuasion comes from knowing what the hiring manager wants and then having prepared talking points that speak to those needs. And then discussing only what's relevant. And we'll discuss why relevancy is so critical in being able to impress a hiring manager and make them really see your potential. And then also avoiding irrelevant aspects. We're going to go over just some of the feedback that we get, that Cast Placement gets from employers. And a lot of it has to do with how the human brain works when irrelevant information is added to either monologue, an argument, or an interview. And then also, though, being able to take that less relevant experience and making it relevant. And then finally, too, all of this is easier than you may think. And we're going to walk you through step by step. By the end of this, you will be a tremendously better, more persuasive interviewee. And the odds of you getting the job you want faster with higher pay should increase dramatically. So let's look at the steps. Basically, we've broken them down into three steps. So becoming that persuasive interviewee involves three things. It involves uncovering the interview's motivations on both a human as well as a professional level. And then also, too, learning how to make your background narrative align to those motivations. And then finally, using the combination of that information to form highly persuasive, relevant, and interchangeable talking points. So, why do we want to get into these interchangeable, relevant, and persuasive talking points? Well, they'll work regardless of the questions you're asked, regardless of interviewer personality type, regardless of relevancy of your past experience, interview format, or just about any other interview roadblock that you may face, regardless of interviewer personality or demeanor. And what basically how nervous you get, it will mitigate and lessen all of the factors that concern job seekers on a day-to-day basis. And here is one interchangeable talking point that you'll see basically. So it is, I think that insert product line name has potential to acquire significant market share. My entire career has revolved around giving my employer a substantial advantage in everything from paid ads to sales proposals to social media content. Now, either parts of this or all of it can be used in most questions. If you think about it, why do you want to work at X company? Well, the answer is right there. And then also, too, what makes you think that you'd be good for this role? Or, if you're asked, tell me about yourself, and you take out that first sentence and you say, well, as a person, my hobbies are skiing and I like to exercise. And then also, too, my entire career has revolved around giving my employer a substantial advantage in everything from paid ads to sales proposals to social media content. And now let's talk about adapting to the employer thinking patterns, because it's not only enough that we know that persuasive talking points are necessary, it's how do we adapt to how the employer thinks, therefore, we can integrate them in a more effective, seamless manner. So, just to reiterate the persuasion formula, you are most persuasive when you can accurately guess what an employer wants, accurately avoid what's not relevant to them, and then have those persuasive, relevant talking points.